Hey guys, thanks for checking out our latest podcast here. We haven't done one of these in a while. I'm Michael Clark with BAMWX.com. Alongside me, Kirk Hins.
How we doing, everybody?
And we're gonna talk. This podcast about some favorable or non-favorable or whatever you want to call it weather for planting. Here's we start kind of getting underway. It's a little late to be planting, I guess, but not really.
Could be worse.
Yeah, I mean, and with respect to market expectations, it's fine. I know farmers don't really like to hear that, but
Nothing crazy.
it's not mid-May yet,
No.
and we've got some favorable weather in the cards for the most part. So we've come off of a hell of a winter.
I still feel like a part of me's in winter. Still,
Yeah.
I hasn't set in that it's going to get warm ahead yet.
We had parts of Indiana had 130 inches of snow this year.
Yep.
Just relentless, cold. I think we worked every weekend from Thanksgiving
Basically,
to like last
like
weekend.
last week, I'm pretty
So,
sure.
I think it's snowing right now in North Dakota. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's snowing somewhere.
No, it's finally we're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel. So what we're going to focus on the podcast here this year really is just weekly updates on weather across the grain belt. Some of the things that we're looking at longer term, taking questions if folks have them, explaining things that folks may not be too, knowledgeable on.
Sure.
Just trying to keep you guys updated on weather. I mean, let's be honest. One of the biggest factors in weather or in agriculture is weather.
Yeah.
In fact, it probably is.
It's 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Can't have one without the other.
Yeah. So, but the other part of that side of that is it's a non-controllable.
Yeah,
You can't control the weather. You can control how you react to it, which is really what we're.
Yeah. You can share the risks all day long, but not Mother Nature.
Yeah. So no, I was just looking here at snowfall over the last 90 days or whatever, and
Wow.
some places here in Iowa, North Iowa, 40 to 60 inches. Multiple places in Nebraska, Iowa, the North Plains, 50 plus inches of snow.
Yeah.
And a real sharp cutoff, kind of like I-70 south.
Yeah, really is.
Illinois, Missouri, and of course, the folks down in Kansas and panhandles of Oklahoma, Texas haven't had any rain, kind of going through that historically dry period.
Nothing.
Right now. So, I think the question on a lot of folks' minds is what's that gonna, what's planting weather gonna look like?
Yeah.
And everybody's watching the forecast right now. You can get the forecast from 800 different people.
Everybody's a meteorologist.
Yeah. So just be careful where you're getting it from. You never know who's in a hurry and wants to get home and is putting something out that may not be very useful.
Most people don't care about your $15,000 spraying endeavor out there, where that's the difference. We do.
Yeah, for sure. So right now, April running the third coldest right now?
Yeah, we're definitely
Third coldest April on record. It's going to be close if we're going to finish in the top 5. Maybe we will. I don't know.
Top 10 for sure.
Yeah, top 10 cold for sure. I know we've got a stretch of some warmer weather coming up here over the course of the next couple of days. But, we did there was a lot of things going on out there with respect to the April forecast and what happens in April, how it can give you indications of what happens in the summer.
Yeah, that's interesting research there.
Yeah, I mean, so what we found is that, what was it? There was the 4th hottest summer on record within that data set, and then you can go to the 4th coolest or something.
Well, 11th. The 11th coldest was 1936, and it was the warmest summer on record. So little to no correlation.
Yeah, I mean, you really have either side of the spectrum there as possible.
Yeah,
I just don't think the April weather, the correlation. The argument that it has a correlation to summer weather makes a whole lot of sense.
Well, and a lot of the winter pattern can still be felt well into April. Obviously, this year with many getting 1.5 feet of snow in April alone in the Central Plains, so you see that winter influence diminish almost completely, I would say, as you get into summer. So it's a completely different set of atmospheric drivers.
Yeah. Yeah. So, right now, like month to date, the coldest temperatures are found in North Iowa, Minnesota, and the Dakotas, Wisconsin, where places are running 15 degrees below normal.
Yeah.
The entire country is running 4.2 degrees below normal for the month of April.
That's nuts.
So, yeah, I mean, that's wild. Now, again, we've got some significantly warmer weather just around the corner here into this weekend.
Yeah, that'll knock it out. But
early next week.
When you look in April 2018, you're going to think, boy, it was cold and snowy. In my opinion,
So
I didn't think we were ever going to get out of April.
That's just... April and snow just sounds so stupid, but it is what it is. Year to date, just kind of a recap coming out of winter, it was obviously a cold. It was a rather harsh winter. I mean, especially in the North Plains, year to date, places in the North Plains are running, on average 5 to 8 degrees below normal.
Yeah.
We've been below normal dating back to the 1st of January for the eastern half of the country.
Yeah.
With the exception of Florida.
Side note, this sure looks like a lot of global warming going on there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, you got to watch out. That'll get you. Global warming will get you. Gosh. Kirk likes to stir up trouble. Come on,
I like to stir the pot. You wouldn't listen if you didn't like it.
Yeah, so, getting in on, again, we're just kind of recapping where we've been in 18 and some of the, for a lot of you guys that are interested in why weathers, why does the weather, and some of you interested in why that happens, but, a lot of the responsibility or the core root of this cold has come from the stratosphere.
Yeah.
In the last couple months. We had what's called a sudden stratospheric warming event. And simply put, guys, what this does is it takes the core of the coldest air on the planet, it kind of just splits it in half, and it just completely changes the flow of the entire pattern in the northern hemisphere.
It really does.
And here's the thing: those kinds of things are impossible to predict.
Yeah.
Outside of 10 days.
Yeah, and there's very little research. I mean, 2018 will be, what folks use as a lot of research for, SSWEs, the stratospheric warming events, or polar vortex splits. I mean, you would never guess you'd feel 2 months out the impacts of what happened in February.
Yeah, and that's the thing is there's so much to it that we don't know, and it has such a major implication on the seasonal outlooks and the seasons going forward. Not to mention, then we couple it with we're coming out of La Nina into an ENSO neutral. So it's just, there's a lot of things going on that make for seasonal prediction to be very, very difficult.
It's high risk, 100%.
Yeah, to just hard to get a good grasp on everything.
It is.
But that's kind of been the reasoning. We've had the blocking in the higher latitudes, and essentially what blocking means is that areas of high pressure. I always say if you're wearing shorts in Alaska, you're wearing winter coats in Indiana.
100%.
So, and that's what happens is you put that block and that high pressure in Alaska. We refer to it as a negative EPO, East Pacific Oscillation, but that drives in the cooler weather, and that's happened 5 or 6 times in the last
time and time again
5 months. So that's the reason why it's been so cold.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll tell you, folks are looking at precipitation, it hasn't been that wet. Now, it's snowed, and snow, it counts as moisture. I'm not disbarring that by any means, but, looking at the last 30 to 60 days, look at the last 30 days percent of normal precip, much of Iowa is running below normal. You're somewhere around 50%, maybe even 30% of the normal precip. Missouri, Kansas, East Nebraska, Western Illinois. You guys are dry right now. You go over to Southern Illinois, Indiana, and you've got one storm in there.
One storm. I was just about to say that. That was like almost a month ago, it seems like now.
Yeah.
It hasn't rained since.
What do we have that day? Like 4 inches of rain?
3.9 inches of rain in Indianapolis.
In a day.
Basically our month in one day.
So that's the reason, but overall, the pattern has not been. And my fear is that if we get a couple of even a heat wave or two, it's possible that we can start to see how dry it is really quick.
We could. You couple that with a less than impressive jet stream that's going to be moving. You can make the argument. You go into end zone neutral, which is El Nino Southern Oscillation. That's are we El Nino or La Nina? You get a little bit less of an amped up jet. You could work in more warmth and a little bit less moisture, and you can see how we can get dry fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm just the summer forecast. That's for another day, another discussion. But let's talk about spring and the plant 18. Everybody getting out and planting. I know there's guys out in Nebraska. In fact, I was looking at radar. There's some rain moving through. Eastern
Nebraska, Eastern Kansas, Missouri.
Yeah, some really good rain moving through portions of central Oklahoma.
Need it bad.
Yeah, so there's a nice rain system down there, and but after this, weather turns significantly favorable for just about everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we may be targeting a couple storm dates, but that is not for everybody. That is a key thing to understand.
So we get into we start out getting into Friday afternoon. Temperatures are going to be running anywhere from 4 to 10 degrees above average from western Illinois through Iowa, Missouri, all of Nebraska and the Dakotas. You're still running a little bit chillier in the eastern belt and down through Missouri.
Yeah.
But that's just for Friday. Yeah. And as we get into Saturday,
going from winter to summer out here.
Yeah, in the western belt, in the western half of the belt, from West Iowa west, it's very, very warm. And then as the warmth builds back in Sunday, places in West Iowa and the Dakotas will run as warm as 20 degrees above average.
Yeah, we could be hitting 90s, 80s for sure.
So this is still the 29th of April. That's going to have a big dent.
It is.
It's going to play into, are we going to be in the top 5 coldest?
100%. Yeah, sure.
We'll have to see how, I don't know. We'll have to see how it pans out, but it's going to warm the statistical average of the month. But then you go into Monday, and I think widespread low 80s are on the table here.
Easy.
For everybody, Sunday and Monday, through all of the Corn Belt. Everybody trying to get corn into the ground. I think that, I would not be shocked by next week if 50% of the freaking corn is planted.
Yeah, you're not going to have a ton of wind either with this as well, so it's ideal.
Yeah. Yeah, so, it's very, very warm next Monday across the entire grain belt, and then you get out into next Tuesday. Now, a front's coming through. This is the first, and it does drop temperatures back down for you guys in the northern plains, and temperatures could be as cold as 20 degrees below the average. With the front coming through next Tuesday.
50s and 30s.
If you plant, Sunday or Monday, you're going to be followed by a cold front.
Yeah.
There's no question.
It's important.
So something you certainly want to watch. Now, it rebounds, gets back to somewhat neutral, warmer than normal conditions by next Wednesday. But overall, over the course of the next 10 days, largely it's a favorable pattern. The percent of normal precipitation the next 10 days, 90% of the ag belt's going to be below the normal.
Yep.
With the exception of at or slightly above normal in spots in the eastern belt, Missouri. Southern Missouri, there's not a lot of corn down there.
No.
But some of the corn...
soybeans, I would say.
Yeah, and some of those you may get 200% of the normal.
Probably from, what do you think, one storm?
Yeah. I think it's one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then after that, I think it can maybe even calm again after that a little
100%,
bit. 100%,
until around the 10th.
Yeah, so, and then extreme north Missouri, but there's not barely any. It's all pined.
Yeah,
So
not great chasing territory.
But in the heart of Iowa, Illinois, Nebraska, you're running on average, 30 to 50% of the normal.
Yep.
In some spots, you're running 10% of the normal precipitation. So. It's certainly a favorable pattern the next 10 days for weather in terms of being, planting. And
as good as you're ever going to have.
Yeah, I don't see any red flags.
No, certainly not.
Kirk, have you talked to any of your clients about what they're do they have any concerns? What kind of things are they facing weather-wise?
The only thing everybody's asking, or obviously wind, what are my winds looking like? But, when I get this seed in the ground, what am I looking? Am I going to get rain with it? Am I planting into a warm rain, or is temperatures crashing? But like you mentioned, next week, that is important information. We're going to be planting into some rain, but what's temperatures going to be like behind it? Because what is it? The first 72 hours or so when that seed is in the ground is some of the most important time, in its entirety. Mm-hmm. So, that is the biggest concern is, are we going to be cold behind when we get this seed in the ground, and what's it like ahead of it? Everybody wants to know, how long is this window going to last? So I would say, when you compare it to say last year, this is extremely more favorable for widespread planting. I don't see any huge issues for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's as good as a window as you're ever going to get. So
frost, maybe that's a concern too, which I don't think is 100% off the table.
I don't think we've seen the last frost.
I don't think so either.
Mm-mm. No, I don't think the last one of the season's been seen.
No.
And with the MJO, the Madden Julian oscillation, what we call that. For those of you who are our clients are aware of kind of what that means, but it is going back into colder phases.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that easily can mean that these cold risks are not done.
Yep.
Especially probably in the eastern belt, southeast.
I don't think we're necessarily done with the high latitude blocking, or what I mean by that is that negative EPO or that negative NAO, that high pressure up in Canada or in near Alaska that just forces that colder air down. Now, we're not talking, extreme cold winter like cold either, but colder than normal is certainly, I think, on the table here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So we'll see. I mean, there's just no major red flags right now.
Yeah, 100%. That's crystal.
Yeah. So, one thing to watch here is as we get into May precipitation. Mm-hmm. If May precipitation is drier than normal, that's obviously very good for the planting progress. But in the flip side of that coin, it can mean if there's any major June heat, that could be a problem. Now, that's another question. Are we looking at major June heat? I mean, the areas at largest risk for that are in the Western Belt.
Yeah, 100%.
Western and Southwestern Corn Belt.
Yeah.
Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska areas.
Yeah. I think we'll get a good feel through the first 10 to 15 days of May to see how these storm dates pan out, because we have pretty good confidence of those storm dates, but not great confidence of precipitation with them, because we've had a lot of storm dates we've targeted which have verified, but their actual precipitation has been much lower, which is something you need to pick up on. Mm-hmm. And I think there's signals there too, end of May and into June, to flip that switch right to summer as well. So
there's
a lot of what ifs.
That's something we've just been at least monitoring, the lack thereof of spring.
Yeah.
Obviously we really haven't had one. I mean, so it's already
probably won't.
It's already almost May.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. But that's my concern. Yeah. There are indications now that May could be more of an active month. If you're looking at some of the seasonal guidance. Just off the top of my head, just looking at the CFS model, it's active in the plains in the grain belt. Does that mean it's right? No, but just something to keep in mind. You asked the European weeklies. The latest run was a little bit more active. Some of the research is not. So it's one of those things where you need to follow our updates. On a daily basis.
It's key, especially if you do a lot of long-term planning. I mean, going off of a free data source, that's risky. It's not something I would be willing to do. So we kind of specialize in that risk management. Yeah,
for sure. So yeah, guys. So we as we get into the podcast this year, 30 minutes or less, giving you a rundown. We'll try to have guest speakers on here and just some of the ag industry professionals and even I want to get some farmers on here too, just kind of you guys out there in the field that are actually doing this stuff that everyone talks about.
Yeah, just kind of wanted to shake off the winter dust and make sure you guys remember we're still here. We're not under snow. We're not under snow. We did survive winter.
We did. Barely.
6 months of winter is a long time.
Oh my gosh.
Too long.
Too long.
I started drinking a little bit heavier here over the last 2 months.
We got some good breweries in here. That is the caveat. It was put on a little extra weight. I'm ready to get outside and do something.
We got a couple other guys that work here. Nathan, he's full-fledged alcoholic.
Yeah. Can't keep him away from the bottle even at work.
Nathan doesn't drink, so
I think he's far from that.
Yeah, he's the opposite.
But no. So anyways, we'll start doing these every Wednesday, guys. Feel free to tune in.
Yeah.
Ask questions.
Hashtag BAMWX podcast. Send us your questions. We'll love to chat with those next week for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
We'll try to do it live.
Yeah, figuring that out.
Yeah, we gotta love YouTube for that. So that's all we have. Favorable planting weather is in the cards. Get out there, take full advantage of it. Keep a close eye on the May forecast.
Oh, before you go, talk about our webinar. You want to talk about that?
Anybody that's listening
Free
on
trial.
here, I do not want them on our webinar. I'm just kidding.
Sorry, guys. Tried.
Yeah, so we do have our official forecast for summer, May 9th at 11 a.m. You can register by visiting bamwx.com/webinar. And we're also doing a free trial, an open house.
It's a 7-day trial.
7-day trial. You can try out our products if you've been on the fence about wanting to get a forecast. Guys, there's a lot of other sources out there that are $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 a year. I see it. I just know that. Yeah. So our product is $1,500, $1,000 to $1,500 for the year. And you're getting information that's worth just a lot more than that.
Yeah, and you can interact with us on a daily basis. I mean,
yeah, so
can't beat that.
No, absolutely. So check it out, bamwx.com/webinar. Again, tell your friends about our podcast and give us a review on the podcast. Yeah. So give us some good feedback, get some comments on here, and let's start to get the word out about these things as we head through the growing season this year. So
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, best of luck to all you guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.